Namaskar and hello to everyone. Welcome to WRC. From today at WRC, we'll be starting a new program, a new series, which is titled as Fundamentals on Friday. So every month on a particular Friday, two topics and two eminent speakers will be invited in WRC. As a chartered accountants and as a region, we do have various programs, academic as well as non-academic. However, it has been felt that a specific programs on certain fundamental topics must be arranged. So this particular series is been designed, and today is the first program in that series. And we have two eminent speakers, C. Abhijit Phadnis and C.S. Vishwas Pathak with us. So before going forward, let us start the ICI motto song. Everyone is requested to put their hand on their chest as a mark of respect. Mishraji, please.
य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रदब्रह्मा तदब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्वैत 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 एतद्वैत
Yes, thank you everyone. And to start with, Drushti madam, are you able to talk?
Sure, I can talk. It's such an interesting seminar, so I couldn't miss it.
So much.
Abhijit.
Yes, thank you so much. So to start with, we have with us Vice Chairman of WRC, Ye Drushti Desai, and may I request her to kindly give her remarks on this occasion. Over to you, Drushti madam.
So sure, Abhijit. As I said, this is a wonderful concept, and we'll be talking on various subjects. May not directly be technical in our profession, but of course, everything has a fallout on what we do. Okay, so I'm sure this is really a wonderful thing, and so it will widen the horizon of the professionals, so beyond the tax and beyond audit that we will think. So this is very nice. Apart from that, a few updates I would like to share with all of you here, what we are doing at WRC. So one is that we have launched this portal coach and we've got excellent response. I would request all the chartered accountants, all the members, non-members who are in corporate or wherever, and if you want any chartered accountant, you can go on to our website, go on to this portal coach, and you can select the profile, and you will be able to get candidates. Then mails will be sent out of your interest that candidate, and you will be able to take it forward with the people who are registered on this portal coach. We have got many CA members, women members who are registered on this. So do take benefit of this. This is completely free, completely for the benefit of members. So that's one. Secondly, we have also launched TEL, which is Train, Earn and Learn. And in this, what we have done is that we have roped in colleges, and we will be training in the colleges, and we will be able to get trainees from, who are undergrads from various commerce colleges into our course, CA course, because we are facing a real big challenge in getting article trainees. So that's the other thing. Arpit will be able to throw light on this in detail. The other thing is we have started the study groups. First time these new study groups have started in the field of valuation, internal audit, and direct tax. So there is limited vacancy available in the study group. It will be an open discussion which happens. We've already had our first meetings for these two of the study groups. The other one for direct tax will be scheduled very shortly. So I would request, if you are anybody's interested in participating in an open discussion, then please register for these study groups, and it will really benefit everyone. So these are some of the things that I wanted to share. And yeah, just one more thing about the index that we have created for all the programs which have happened on WRC platform in last 1 year, because they have all happened on the digital platform. We have recording of all the lectures which have taken place, and any member can just log on to the archive portion, look at the index, and can view the programs and the lectures which have happened to update knowledge, to learn some new field. So this is something that members can take benefit of. And that's it from my side. Abhijit, over to you. Thank you very much, and happy learning.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Rusti Madam, for your remarks and updating about the various initiatives taken by WRC. Now, let us listen from the young and energetic Secretary of WRC, CA Arpit Kabra. Arpit Kabra, over to you.
Thank you, Dada. First of all, congratulations. Brilliant idea to set up this Friday, Fundamentals on Friday, and some of the very important vital topics that we'll be discussing. So, congrats to you and Drishti Madam for setting this up wonderfully. At WRC, of course, so many activities that we are doing. One of the most important that we are all passionate about is this train and learn. We really wish to provide training to so many BCom undergrads and make them eligible to become trainees for chartered accountants. I think this will ease out the burden of having article trainees in our offices very, very smoothly. Also, we have over 400, I think over 600 now. We've got multiple batches already graduated under train and learn. So these people are available for hiring. So if anyone who's looking to hire interns, they can please register with WRC on the WRC website, and CA firms can get in touch through the website and hire these interns. The database will be shared by them, and you can take from your pin code, specific pin codes or area, and you can hire these interns for your offices. Another thing, data analytics is playing a very important role in our lives to come. So technology is something that we are focusing on very, very positively, and very focused sessions on technology is what we have created now. Data on and data analytics. So we have 30 member batch, only 30 members batch, and a 60-hour learning course. Usually these courses are when you go outside with various other educational platforms. They are running these courses at around 75,000, 1 lakh rupees. At WRC, we are just offering it at 9,000 rupees. So, you can all, someone who's really focused on understanding data analytics, digital, and, various technologies, including Power BI, Python, and Tableau, they can, and understand how these data can be presented using visualization also. They can please register with WRC for this focused course. And more importantly, there is a Telegram channel of WRC that we have launched. So all of these initiatives that we are launching will all be available through this Telegram channel. No more email searching, no more WhatsApps, and no more other this. Only one channel by the name of WIRC Connect. So please join us on this channel so that you can all get all the information about WRC and its activities. Again, a very, very thoughtful series that has been started by Abhijit Dada here. So I think I wish him all the luck, and also welcome both the wonderful personalities that we've had today. Phadnis sir, and we'll have the second speaker will join us very soon. Have a great, great learning. For any further suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us. Over to you, Abhijit Dada. Thank you.
अभी सर आपका स्क्रीन शेयर करिए सर.
I hope I am audible. Thank you, C. Arbit. And let us start our program. The first speaker is Dr. Abhijit Phadnis, and he'll be discussing about the lessons from pandemic, ensuring financial well-being as an enabler to the professional progress. And I have a privilege to introduce Abhijit sir to all the audience. Dr. Abhijit Phadnis is a national rank holder in CA, CMA, CSA, and CFA with 11th, second, and first rank all India respectively. He was awarded PhD by Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay in 2009 for his thesis titled as Factors Influencing Investment into Indian States. Friends, he began his corporate career in 1983 and has worked for Johnson & Johnson, UBS, and Credit Suisse. In his role as COO, head of all business support functions with Indian subsidiaries of UBS and Credit Suisse, he was appointed to the board of these subsidiaries. He began teaching in 1985 and has delivered more than 350. He has given lectures to more than 350 corporate workshops and for more than 70 companies. Friend, he has also coached many senior executives in finance and general management. He helped IIT Bombay in launching two new unique initiatives, namely including a joint degree program with an American university. He has created both English and Marathi YouTube channel. You can visit it, and is creating videos on learning finance, investing in a language simple to understand. Friends, he has wrote a serial of 49 episodes to teach accounting, costing, and finance concept, which he has been animated. This has been rolled out by 20 companies. He writes poetry as well in English and Marathi. So, such a wonderful personality with a wonderful thought-provoking topic, I would say. I welcome C. Abhijit Phadnis sir on this occasion and request him to kindly start his deliberations. Over to you, Abhijit sir.
Sure. Thank you very much, CA Abhijit ji, for having invited me. CA Drushti Desai, CA Arpit ji Kabra, both perhaps in absentia now, but I just want to recognize their presence. My co-speaker, CS Vishwas Pathak ji, and all the dignitaries of WIRC. I think Drushti ji is back. I had a chance to interact recently in the evaluation.
Abhijit sir, everybody will be logged in, but they will be switching off their camera for the sake of
Okay. So I just had a chance to interact with her recently in the evaluation study group about which she mentioned. And all my dear CA friends, thank you for this opportunity for addressing this August gathering. So with your permission, I'll show my screen and I'll begin with my presentation. I hope it's visible. If you could kindly confirm that it's visible, then I'll go ahead.
Yes, it's visible, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So as Abhijit ji mentioned, the topic which is given to me is lessons from pandemic and the importance of financial well-being as an enabler to professional progress. In fact, we all know that these have been trying times, and therefore, if we were to look at some of the key learnings from this pandemic, one of the most important things has been the criticality of health and importance of life itself, as we have all experienced some of the tragic deaths around us. It has also prompted us to introspect the life priorities. Obviously, families first and their health is first. That's something which is very critical and important. And as they always say, cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties, and we also experienced that in our life, how gloriously uncertain this period was, and particularly for professionals like us. At the same time, there was a clear need for us to keep our positivity going to get over the gloom. I remember I created a series of Marathi videos beginning from March 25th of 2020 and ending on about 14th of April, every day sharing, my thoughts on the silver linings of this pandemic, so that we don't get bogged down with the negativity, and instead look for opportunities. It also emphasized the importance of spirituality, the very important dimension of our life. And we also experience, as a part of our own professional activities, major shifts getting accelerated. A lot of us had to work from home, from typical brick and mortar businesses. Businesses are getting virtual. We also experience that kind of a transition. But the core of this topic, which is what I also wanted to emphasize, was that the biggest learning was that financial well-being is so critical to manage other challenges. Imagine the situation that, the challenges that cropped up for people who also had financial issues. They are like two battles being fought at the same time. And we have heard of all kinds of very sad stories. So one of the biggest learning is that we have to take care of our own financial well-being, so that we are able to actually cope up with the challenges and also blossom in our own professional progress. So backup of well-managed investments can help us during uncertain times. As Abhijit ji introduced me, I played senior roles among some of the global organizations. But last 2 decades after I decided to pursue my doctoral work from IIT Bombay, and practically for 2 decades, I've been doing work for corporates wherever I'm invited. I don't do any networking or outreach. And I have personally been experiencing that only because I have had a well-managed investment portfolio that I've been able to cope up with these uncertainties. Because unlike traditional CA practice, where at least you have ongoing clients for audit and taxation, in my case, because I'm more in consulting, coaching, corporate executive education, there's a lot of uncertainty about what work will come my way, particularly because I don't want to go and pitch myself. I would rather get invited. So that being the case, for me, this experience during COVID was not new, though of course it was more severe because lack of a lot of these initiatives by corporates during this time to engage executives to workshops because of a lot of challenges that they had on their work front. So obviously I had to undergo a lot of challenge from a professional activity perspective, but only because I have been managing my own investments well, that I've been able to cope up with that and in fact create opportunities, on which I have created a series of videos. As Abhijit ji introduced, I have my own YouTube channel on which I have shared a lot of those thoughts. But I wanted to focus on some of the very important dimensions in the limited time that I have. So obviously, when we talk about financial well-being, savings, investments, loans, and insurance are the typical 4 dimensions. I'm going to touch upon very briefly on the other 3, which is savings, loans, and insurance. But my focus today is going to be on investing. So very quickly, I'll talk about the other 3 dimensions and then move to my core subject. And depending on the time available, I'll be very happy to take questions. So first of all, criticality of savings, right? This pandemic underlined the importance of savings once again, right? And one very important learning has been that savings are deeply influenced by the lifestyle that we have. And whether we like or not, lifestyle is a very sticky business. It can't be changed easily. So we have to live with, the nature of expenses once we opt for a lifestyle. So for example, when I was working for these global organizations, I had a choice of staying in South Mumbai, maybe in a leased apartment, but I consciously stayed away from that temptation because I was very watchful of my lifestyle. Because once you move to locations which are the upmarket locations, your lifestyle undergoes a complete change, right? So this pandemic in a way emphasized the importance of simple living. We always say simple living and high thinking, but this pandemic really emphasized the importance of that, right? It also emphasized, very interestingly, the importance of sharing and caring. It's not just a question of taking care of ourselves, but there are a lot of these have-nots that we also need to attend to. And I'm sure many of you would have contributed. Personally, I reached out to many people whose livelihoods were affected, and I at least tried to give them some financial support during this time. So the key learning also is that while we need to save, it need not be only for our selfish ends. It can be to ensure that we are able to extend a helping hand during these trying times, because as our own culture teaches us, our well-being is not possible without well-being of others. So we have to take care of well-being of others also. And this attitude of thinking beyond us is actually critical for our own inner well-being. So only when we take care of others, we get taken care of. So I slightly digress, but I thought that's also a very important part of our lifestyle. The second important aspect is, of course, insurance. So term insurance, health insurance, property insurance, vehicle insurance, keyman insurance. We have, being chartered accountants, we all know about these insurance opportunities. But as they often say, insurance is actually a subject matter of solicitation. So in principle, it should be always asked for, but it should never be sold. But what we see in reality is that we see it the other way. We find that insurance is aggressively sold rather than being bought, right? So we should surely seek protection whenever we feel vulnerable in certain domains, particularly those of you who are young, you're still building the career, savings are not sufficient. It's absolutely important for you to have your insurance cover to protect from your vulnerabilities. So term insurance is very critical. Health insurance is also very important, and so are others. However, what I would also mention is that insurance must be used judiciously, or else, unfortunately, we also heard cases this time, like it happened with a friend of mine, that he was admitted to a hospital having been diagnosed of COVID, and a question was asked to him, how much insurance does he have? And he said, naively, that he had insurance of 10 lakh rupees. After a couple of hours, somebody came back and said that, your bill will be approximately 10 to 12 lakhs. This is very first day of being admitted. And then he was stuck into the hospital for 15 days, and finally the bill was about 11, 12 lakhs. Now, this is a gross misuse of insurance protection. So it must be used judiciously. Otherwise, such a use will finally jack up the insurance premium so high that the have-nots from our society will suffer. So this is where we need to be very careful in terms of the use of insurance products. And lastly, we should never mix up insurance with investing. Unfortunately, a lot of insurance products get missold as great investment products, but that should never be done as a reality. Going to the loans part, taking loans judiciously is very important. So loan for one's own residence and where one is going to stay, of course, it's a great idea, because that's something which is very important for our own well-being. But when it comes to taking a loan for real estate investment, we need to be very careful. Quite often people get trapped in very long real estate cycles. So unlike equity markets, about which we're going to talk about later, real estate cycles really go on for a very long time, and people actually unfortunately get trapped. And the worst is they may have taken loans for those investments. So on one hand, the real estate investment may not perform, and on the other hand, there is a burden of the loan. So we have to be very careful about real estate cycles. Car loans, we need to be aware about the new trends. Car today is moving from something to be manufactured and sold to car as a service. And therefore, putting money into an asset which is going to depreciate, particularly when there are new trends, new technologies which are coming, we need to be more careful. Right? Education loan is a great idea. As Abhijit mentioned, I helped IIT in launching a joint degree program with an American university. And such aspirational programs, if one is required to take a loan, that's worth it, because it opens up new opportunities. And of course, personal progress through education is something very important for all of us. But when it comes to other needs such as white goods, tourism, we have to be very judicious when we take loans, because those burdens is something we need to create very carefully. Also, we should avoid credit card rollovers, because all of us must be aware that credit card rollovers actually are very expensive. The rate of interest which is charged, because they are unsecured loans, are extremely high. So we should use credit card more from a liquidity management perspective rather than a real credit. So this is something I thought of just mentioning before I move into the core discussion I wanted to hold on the investing per se. So simply said, what is investing? We all work hard, but investing is about making our money work hard, right? So our saving pool must work hard enough as we work hard. That's the simple idea. So in my view, after having been in it for many years now, one of the biggest learnings that I have had in investing domain is your investing is as effective as you are able to understand and manage risks. So what is really important is that we should focus on risk and risk management. In my experience, returns follow. Unfortunately, what people do is they try to run after returns and then they invite risks. And that is more speculation rather than investing. Investing is really about understanding risk, and then automatically we ensure that returns will follow, right? Also, it's very important that we should stay away from rigid age-based prescriptions. For example, I would turn 59. If you ask a typical financial planner, the financial planner would advise me not to have an equity exposure more than 50%, 40 to 50% at the most. But I just wanted to give a disclosure that 95% of my savings are in equities. So I'm going against the so-called prescribed wisdom. But as I mentioned earlier, that if you're able to understand and manage risks, it's up to you to actually increase the exposure. So age is not a bar. So we should not actually get influenced by many of these rigid prescriptions which are given, and we should also stay away from the potential mis-selling. For example, SIP is a product which is, in my view, grossly missold. It's unfortunate that people are putting in thousands of crores every month through SIP. As Abhijit mentioned, I have my own YouTube channel and I have created a video on SIP myths and reality. This is a great example of how investment is missold, because SIP makes us invest every month, which goes against the very first principle of investing. That first principle of investing is we have to always apply mind before we invest. Now, SIP takes away our right to think because it makes us invest mechanically. That goes against the very first principle of investing. So we have to be also very careful of such mis-selling that is so rampantly done. Another very important point is that we need to maximize our overall return on the saving pool, not just part of it. So quite often people run after IPOs thinking that it's going to be a blockbuster listing and I'm going to get so much appreciation. But if that's going to be a very small fraction of your savings, and for which you need to study before you invest, you really need to think whether that is really worth it, or you can actually improve the overall return on your portfolio by following certain strategies which can actually give you superior returns over the entire portfolio. So these are things which we need to think about when we get into investing. All of us have learned compounding. We as CAs know the impact of compounding, but very quickly, a table of how much a lakh of rupees can become in 25 years on a monthly compounding basis. So if we invest at 6%, a lakh of rupees, of course, pre-tax, in 25 years will become 4,46,000. But if you are able to improve the return by managing our risks, and if you are able to cross or even touch 20%, the same 1 lakh has the potential to become 1,42 lakh. So therefore, what we need to do is create strategies whereby we can actually climb up the return and risk paradigm. But as I mentioned, it's not sufficient to just improve the return on a small portion of our portfolio, but rather to improve it over the wider portfolio that we have, the entire savings pool. So what are the simple ways to benefit from compounding? So one of the first and easiest things to do is nurture a fewer assets that can be monitored. It's like, plant a limited number of trees that you can actually take care of. And that's how we can invest in a very simple way, but very effective way, by actually focusing on limited number of assets rather than just trying to go for, plethora of assets under the name of diversification. That's actually not necessary. Once we start understanding how different markets work, and I'm going to give you a few glimpses in the next couple of slides, then we are able to focus on fewer assets and actually help ourselves with capital growth rather than just beating inflation, which is what the function of deposits really is. Also, we need to invest to grow capital rather than just generating interest or dividends. In fact, whenever interest and dividends come and land into our bank account, they're actually reducing the impact of compounding, because they are then going to compound at only 3.5%, which is the savings bank rate, unless we are again able to consciously invest it. But typically what happens is, because of our pressures of profession, we actually do not give enough attention to our own portfolio. And that's the reason I said that it's much better to simplify our investments. And I'm also going to show you a few simple methods before I close. So the important thing is to really focus on post-tax return possibility rather than just focusing on tax benefits. I often say this, that in India, we have a national tax saving obsession. So people are always focused on where can I save tax rather than how can I improve my return. But if we change that paradigm to improving returns, we can actually do wonders in our portfolio. It's also important to study long-term patterns in different markets. So quite often what happens is people waste a lot of their time in identifying a specific asset rather than worrying about the asset class as a whole. For example, during the COVID pandemic, the equity markets collapse was such a great opportunity. And I created a video on April 4, 2020 on my channel, how I'm going to approach this opportunity. It's available on my YouTube channel. So the important thing for us is to really focus on the market behavior rather than worry so much about every individual asset so much. So to my mind, 80% of our returns are taken care of if we are able to focus on the market behavior. The balance 20% comes out of specific assets, like a particular share or a particular mutual fund or a particular type of asset class, whether it's bond or shares. It's important for us to really understand these cycles which happen in the marketplace. And again, don't go by some of the prescribed ideas saying that nobody can time the market. In fact, investing is about looking at the right time of investing, and therefore, investing without timing is actually an oxymoron. I can understand that one can't exactly find the bottom, but we can clearly sense when we are closer to the bottom, like I have also shared in my April 4, 2020 video on my channel. So basically, this is a sense that we need to start developing about the markets. So as I mentioned, we need to keep track of long-term trends as well as short-term counterparts. So here is a 25-year chart on the 91-day Treasury bill rate. All of us know that Treasury bills are issued by the central government for short-term financing, and they have maturities of 91 days, 182 days, 364 days. As we can see, there is a cyclical part and also a structural part. So structurally, our interest rates are going down because structurally we are now becoming a more developed economy. We can similarly see a chart of government bonds with 10-year yields. We can clearly see over 25 years how the bond yields are falling. Now, if that is the trend, we need to also align our investments appropriately. We are fast becoming a developed nation. We are no longer a developing country. So our investments must also be aligned to take advantage of this fact. Otherwise, quite often what happens is people get stuck with investing a lot of money in their bank deposits, thinking of safety. But what happens is a falling interest rate scenario becomes a big challenge. On the other hand, it's a great opportunity for bond owners because there is an inverse relationship between bond prices and interest rates. So if you're aware about that, then we can also include bonds as a part of our portfolio rather than looking at time deposits. So as a disclosure, I have 0 time deposits in my own portfolio. I use time deposits more as a cash management tool whenever I've used, rather than an investment tool. So we need to start making distinction between, a product which is very convenient for cash management, for monitoring our own obligations and ensuring that we have enough money to be able to pay for those obligations, as compared to an investment tool which is going to build our capital. So quite often people confuse between these various investment instruments. So we need to be very careful about that. A couple of other charts. This is a gold chart in the global markets. So USD per ounce of gold, and we clearly see that gold is a long-term bull market because it's a proven metal which has been proven over thousands of years. So gold is something which definitely gives us excellent returns. Sensex also has given some dramatic returns as we have experienced, and I would say that bright days are ahead of us. Quite often people are very scared right now that markets have really gone up, but I would say that this is just a beginning of a structural bull market in India, because we are moving from a developing nation to a developed nation very, very fast. So gold and real estate are exciting opportunities. However, they have longer cycles. Gold has relatively shorter cycle as compared to real estate, but as I mentioned, real estate can have really long cycles, and therefore when we invest, we need to be careful that we are not caught on the wrong side of the cycle. So whenever there is a fall in those cycles, and imagine if you have borrowed money to buy real estate, you could actually suffer from a very long-term perspective. So therefore, we have to be very careful about these cycles. Equities, as I have mentioned, provide us an excellent opportunity to compound significantly more because of market fluctuations, and also within equities as an asset class, we can have multiple assets which have their own fluctuations, and we are able to create excellent strategies around those. I have also created videos on how I deployed what I call as a switch strategy during the COVID pandemic, and you actually could create more value without actually deploying any fresh capital. So we have to start thinking of, because as CAs, we are all equipped to think more creatively, and our institute has trained us in this. Once we start applying our mind, actually there are very, very interesting opportunities that we can avail of. So equities is a sure way to build wealth. In fact, if you were to just do an analysis, you will find that Nifty has given a 13% plus return over a 17-year period. And remember, last one decade has been a very difficult decade for us. We have seen 2010 to 2012 period, which was marked by a lot of controversies, scams, a tremendous, lending spree which happened without much caution, and we have all suffered. The bank's position became very weak. The government had to do a lot of things to sort it out, including the insolvency and bankruptcy code, as all of us are aware about. We had demonetization shock, which was absolutely needed, but a shock which was required. We have had GST transition in spite of all the challenges, and now COVID. Nifty has given 13% plus return over a 17-year period. Is it purely out of speculation? No. In fact, if you actually see our Indian economy during this 17-year period, the Indian economy has also grown at 12%. Now, when I say 12%, I'm not talking about real growth. I'm talking about real plus the inflation. So the nominal growth in the economy has been 12%. So it's no surprise that Nifty has been able to give us a 13% plus return in spite of all the challenges. So the issue is, can it continue to give 13% plus return down the line also? The answer is absolutely yes, because 7% real growth and 5% inflation themselves add to 12% growth in the economy. If economy is going to grow at 12%, companies are going to grow at a rate faster than that. We all have studied the impact of leverage, operating and financial leverage, and how it can multiply profits. So the question is, with many major reforms behind us and ahead of us, is it an impossibility? The answer is absolutely no. We have the potential to compound. So I often say this, that quite often investors keep on analyzing which bank to keep a deposit with and deposit protection and all that. And we are all doing this for a 5 to 6% return. My question is, why can't we trust the economy, of which a bank is just a subset? So if you are willing to trust an economy, the place to invest is obviously equities, right? Also, post-COVID, we may also become a manufacturing and a defense manufacturing hub. Thus, unlike in the past where service sector was our engine of growth, down the line, we are going to have multiple engines of growth. So equities for sure is a wonderful opportunity that all CAs should definitely explore. But very quickly, because I'm conscious of the limited time that I have, and therefore I'll go a little quick and then of course leave it to the Q&A part because I don't want to crowd out my other esteemed speaker who is going to join us at 7 o'clock. We need to accept what is called as information asymmetry in equities. Finally, as retail investors, we do not have sufficient information about what's going on in the company, in spite of we being the auditors, and we are actually the ones who certify financial statements, right? But in spite of that, of course, also to avoid conflicts of interest, we stay away from investing in companies. Like I don't invest in companies where I do corporate training, right? Just to stay away from any such potential conflict of interest. So when I look at the other companies, I suffer from information asymmetry, which means that being a retail investor, I have at most 35% access to the company's information, which is in the public domain. 65% is a black box for me. So I need to accept that, and therefore we need to create defensive strategies when it comes to investing. And that's why I was saying that risk management is very important when it comes to equity investing, and therefore my always advice for retail investors is restrict to large cap stocks due to easy access to data. You may select one or two small caps or mid caps that you have deeply studied, no problem with that, but don't run after the so-called multi-baggers, because that can be a real big trap. I have elaborated on my channel various defensive investing principles that you may like to explore. And another very wonderful opportunity that we should all explore as CAs is investing through investment and holding companies, again on which I have created videos that you may like to explore, particularly after the dividend taxation having undergone a change, as well as the reintroduction of Section 80M. There are some wonderful opportunities of investing through investment and holding companies, and they are a great alternative to mutual funds. So we need to explore that as CAs. Now, for those who don't want to invest in shares directly and are a little risk averse, here is a simple way you can actually build your portfolio, right? So you could create a portfolio which has 4 kinds of schemes. So rather than creating multiple plethora of schemes, it's much better that you select one mutual fund which is offering you all these 4 schemes. One is a money market fund where you can keep on putting all your surplus money, which you can withdraw at will, because there is no entry load and exit load. And this money, is very safe, very low risk, and you can use this money to even move that to a credit risk fund. A credit risk fund is the one which invests in corporate bonds, but we have to be careful in terms of the debt portfolio. We all know the episode which happened a few years ago with one mutual fund. So we have to be clear that what kind of credit risk portfolio that this mutual fund is building. The third is gilt fund. Gilts, as all of us know, are securities issued by the central and state governments, which are very low risk as compared to a credit risk fund. And of course, index fund. Now, this index fund is something that we all should explore. As I already mentioned, the index has given you returns of 13.5% or a little more over a period of 17 years. So index funds are those which actually mimic the index, either the Nifty or Sensex or even other indices. But personally, I recommend investing in an index fund which invests in Nifty, which are the top 50 companies of the country. So if the economy is going to grow, these top 50 companies are going to grow, and we also don't have to worry about which shares the fund investor may invest money in. So it reduces our risk. And interestingly, as I'm going to explain in few minutes, it also creates wonderful opportunities, which I'll talk about in a minute or two. Those of you who don't want to even have an exposure to credit risk fund can actually create a portfolio out of money market fund, a gilt fund, and an index fund. So money market fund gives you a lot of liquidity. Gilt fund is a great play, against falling interest rates. with a lot of security. And index fund, as I've already explained, gives you exposure to equities. And those of you who want to be really more creative, you can even create portfolio with only 2 schemes. You don't have to have 15, 20 or even 5 schemes. You can just have one scheme which invests in money market fund, and you have another which is an index fund. Now you can see that even in a year, the index goes through a lot of fluctuations. And once you start studying the pattern of the markets, you can start putting money to work into an index fund when the market is slightly on the lower side, and then have a run when the market goes up. I'm not elaborating, of course, it's there on my channel in terms of these methods, but essentially we need to start taking advantage of study of the markets, the wavy pattern of the market. So while economy goes steadily, the markets always follow a path like a pendulum. They always are going to both the extremes of greed and fear. And as investors, we need to start learning that method in the madness. So as we learn that method, we are able to very clearly take advantage of those patterns and put our money to work. So one can even creatively manage one's money without much hassle. So you may remain busy in your own professional activities, but all that you need to do is just study the markets and put your money to work. And if you feel the market gets overheated and you have generated superior return, you can move your money back into a money market fund back also. Always, when you invest in mutual funds, go for open-ended schemes. They provide you enough liquidity. And all of us know that there is an option of direct schemes versus regular schemes. Direct schemes are those where we can directly go and invest without going through any broker, and that actually enhances our return by at least 0.25%. Go for simple, straightforward schemes. Don't get into complicated schemes which combine asset classes. Remember, whenever there are these complicated schemes which are offered by mutual funds, the total expense ratio, TER, as it is said, becomes also higher and higher. On an index fund, if you go through a direct route, you will end up in paying only 0.1% per year as the expense ratio. On the other hand, some of these managed schemes, asset management companies charge as high as 2.5%. Now, globally, the experience is that only 8 to 20% of the fund managers globally, varies from country to country, have been able to beat the respective index against which they are benchmarked. So a lot of money is moving to index funds, and it has already become a $3 trillion industry, because people say that, why should I trust a fund manager? I would rather trust the economy, and then I would put the money into an index and also reduce my expenses, which are going to be charged for managing my money, right? Third point, observe the market movements and don't go for SIP, as I already mentioned. And as you get the rhythm, you can move from portfolio 1 to portfolio 3 gradually. So, the risk return tree, you should always climb in a step-by-step way rather than trying to rush. So, Abhijit ji, I hope in the limited time which I had, so that I have also kept some room for Q&A, I have been able to give the justice to the topic that you have assigned to me. And I hope it would have met the expectations of my CA brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhijit sir. It's a wonderful session, I would say, and it requires not less than 3 to 5 hours to understand your all concept. A few takeaways for me personally are like mis-selling of SIP. This is a new concept for me. Really wonderful. Nurture few assets than having more assets in your basket is another takeaway. Dividend is reducing your compounding rate is again yet another takeaway. National tax saving obsession. This is a wonderful thing. I think we need to think more on this particular aspect. Investing with timing is a oxymoron, is another thing I have learned today from your deliberation. And investment in investment and holding companies, it is a new idea today I have learned. Sir, I wish we should have a full day program from you, wherein we'll be able to know various things about investing. There are few questions which are being directly message to me. I will ask two of them only because we'll be
Sure.
having a speaker. The first
Yes.
one is for a busy chartered accountant, it is been assumed that SIP is the only best way to invest because he is not having time to think about other investment. Though it is so-called expert, being a chartered accountant or any other company secretary or CMA, he is not having time, as you rightly mentioned, to think about the market, the economy, and the better company. So he generally thinks that the SIP is the best way. What is your take on this?
Yes. So, Abhijit, only one point. I think one of the takeaways that you mentioned was that investing with timing is an oxymoron. I would rather say the other way. Investing without timing is which is not thinkable, because investing always has to be backed by thinking. And as I mentioned, SIP is something which takes away our right to think. SIP makes us mechanically keep on investing money. I have actually created a video picking up arguments in favor of SIP, which are published, and I'm sure they are even published as of now, on one of the largest mutual funds, and I have actually argued against each of those arguments in favor of SIP. For example, one of the biggest arguments in favor of SIP is that nobody can time the market, right? But actually that's not the case. Understanding the market is the very first step in investing, right? And even if we are very busy, we can definitely spare about half an hour every week to just observe what is going on in the markets. That's why I said that, you don't have to worry about selecting a specific mutual fund, or, you rather worry about how the market is behaving, and you can simply invest in an index fund, and you can rather control at what time you want to put that money into an index fund. Otherwise, your money can simply lie in a money market fund. I'm not saying it needs to lie in a savings account. It can move to a money market fund, from where you can easily switch to an index fund at your will, right? I'll give you an example. During demonetization time, the market had cracked because everybody was worried what the impact on the economy was going to be. I remember the Nifty was at about 7,900 level. Every day, because nobody can know the exact bottom, that there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of concern in the market, and that this is the best time to invest. Always remember, the best returns are given when we invest when the market is very, very fearful. For example, those who have invested during the COVID pandemic in March, April last year have doubled, or in some cases, 3 times, 4 times of the money, for the simple reason that was a crime time for investing. Now, we don't know the exact bottom. Those of you who like to see my April 4 video on COVID and equity investing, they can look for that video. I have very clearly explained why it's a great opportunity. Now, when we know that we are in a very weak zone of the market, but we don't know the exact bottom, we can stagger, over a couple of days our investments. And I remember from 7,900, that's what exactly I was doing in an index fund during that period. And December 2016, 7,900 index rallied to something like 11,500 by February 2018, just in a matter of 1 year, 3 months. So see the kind of returns that the market can generate if we are able to develop a sense of time about the market, simply the waves that happen in the market. So I think that's how I would like to answer that question, Abhijit.
Thank you. Another question is again interesting. Someone has asked that what is your idea about investing in annuities that are being offered in market?
Right. So, as I mentioned, and as Abhijit ji picked up, one of the learnings was in terms of the dividend and interest coming to our bank account. So what is going to also happen is the annuities as an idea is also, typically I'm talking about the pension products, which are going to put certain money into our bank account, after our retirement date. But, this is again where we need to start thinking of a completely different paradigm, where instead of some money coming into a bank account, we should be able to control, withdrawal of money. So, and therefore, the principle that I advocate is, let us stop living out of, interest and dividends or certain annuities coming to our bank account. Rather, let's start creating strategies for creating a larger capital pool from which we can withdraw whenever we have any specific need. Otherwise, it can continue to compound. So therefore, I would never invest in an annuity product, because I don't want money to come into my bank account unless I really need it.
Anyway, thank you so much, Abhijit sir. Mishraji, is there any facility to raise hands or ask question? If anybody wants to ask any question, the house is open.
नहीं सर, ऐसी क्वेश्चन नहीं है सर.
Hello.
सर
Okay, so I think there are no such questions since the time is limited.
Sure.
So thank you so much, Abhijit sir, for your precious time given. Thank you for all the wonderful things you have taught us, and we wish to have you again and again in WIRC. Not in WIRC, in fact, in India we are having various programs, and we will be inviting you for sure. Thank you so much for sparing your time and guiding the members. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have CA Vishwas Pathak sir with us, who is another next speaker for the new topic. Vishwas ji, are you there?
Abhijit, I am there.
Yes, sir. Please turn on your camera.
It's not on.
विश्वास सर, आपने मोबाइल से ज्वाइन किया सर?
Mobile से join किया.
Okay, so
मोबाइल से सर कैमरा नहीं पकड़ते सर.
Okay, so I got my iPad. Can I do it from there?
चलेगा सर.
Check, I'll do it from there.
sir, you will be having any presentation, or you will be only speaking?
No, I will be talking only. I will be speaking only.
Then you can go ahead with the mobile as well. There is no problem.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So we have another wonderful speaker, CS Vishwas Pathak, and he will be talking about COVID pandemic and economic challenges in India, a professional perspective. And to introduce CS Vishwas Pathak, we have CA Sushrut Chisle, who is a regional council member with us. Welcome, Sushrut. And I request him to kindly introduce CS Vishwas Pathak to the audience. Over to you, Sushrut.
Thank you, Abhijit ji. First of all, congratulations and thank you for starting this wonderful Friday fundamental series, because I think sometimes we tend to ignore the fundamentals. So I think, first of all, congratulations to you. And I think you have also selected two really wonderful speakers for the day. One was Mr. Phadnis, and it's a pleasure to introduce Vishwas Pathak ji. Vishwas Pathak ji is MCOM LLB and a fellow company secretary. He runs his own consultancy company and practices as an advocate in the High Court on corporate laws and electricity laws. He is currently the spokesperson and in charge of the state economic cell, industry cell, and trade cell for the BJP in Maharashtra. He has served as director of the Maharashtra State Electricity Board Holding Company, the State Power Generation Company, State Electricity Transmission Company, and the State Electricity Distribution Company during the period from 2015 to 2020. In the past, he has also worked in the aviation, that is MRO sector, sugar, power, news, and other sectors. Further, he has also written 400 articles on various subjects and authored 5 books. So we are really fortunate to have somebody who is very well versed and also very well connected with the happenings on the ground to be with us and to speak on this topic. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sushrut, for this introduction. Let me tell you, Vishwas Pathak sir is regularly giving article in Tarun Bharat under the name Vishwas Mat, and it is worth reading. So whenever you get an opportunity to read that, everyone who is attending is requested to please go through all those articles. They are very informative. So
Now over to Vishwas Pathak sir, who will be talking about COVID pandemic and economic challenges in India, a professional's perspective. Over to Vishwas sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Abhijit Phadnis. Thank you, Mr. Sushrut Chite, and all other dignitaries and fellow CA members. It's indeed a pleasure for me to have with you and discuss on the topic given to me. I was hearing Dr. CA Abhijit Phadnis, and it was very interesting to listen to him, the way he has walked through various aspects of the investments. But I will start from what he has asked for. He has asked us to trust the economy, or rather to find out whether to trust the economy or to trust the fund manager. I think there are many various questions which we normally face. Even Abhijit is also on various TV debates, and we have to face what Abhijit also says at times. So whether we can trust our economy, because especially 2014 onwards, when Mr. Modi came in power, he started playing with the economy, you can say, by imposing demonetization, then implementation of GST, then bringing insolvency and bankruptcy, dealing with twin balance sheet concept, dealing with NPAs with iron hands, then agriculture reforms, social reforms, various things at a time, labor reforms. So can we really trust the economy? And especially during COVID period, our economy in very unprecedented way has gone down to minus 23% growth. So can we trust the economy? These are the issues. We need to see that. Friends, for this topic, I will divide my discussion into three parts. What is scenario pre-pandemic? How we handled pandemic as a nation? And post-pandemic, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities? And what role our professionals can really contribute to this growth? Friends, 1991 onwards, Honorable Dr. Manmohan Singh brought this globalization and liberalization, and our economy become an economy to be reckoned with on the global platform. And really, whole world attracted towards India in terms of investments and various things. Then Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister who set up a committee under Dr. Vijay Kelkar, a great economist, for FRPVM and also to look into the GST aspect to be implemented in this country. So our economy started picking up since then. And in 2014, we saw a change in leadership wherein Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the reins of the nation. And he set some certain targets for himself. And certain targets, when we heard, it was always thought that it is unbelievable. His target number one was that he wanted to have Indian economy to be $5 trillion US economy by 2025. He wanted to double the income of agriculture, that is farmers, by 2025. He had to make this country corruption free. Then he had to reach out to the public in terms of electricity, sanitization, and various small things. He had to give direct benefits through banking accounts to the poorest of the poor. So lots of agenda he had set up for himself. And most importantly, he wanted to curb corruption also. And therefore, I think he set up various aspects and he wanted to deal with everything at a time with iron hand. So friends, I would take you through certain facts because there are certain allegations that Indian economy is not doing well. The present dispensation do not understand economy and various other things. So let us revisit the facts. In 2014, what was our budget size? Our budget size was 14 lakh crores. And our budget size today is 34 lakhs crore, almost more than double. It is almost like 2.5 times. Our GDP size was 2 trillion USD, which is now 3 trillion USD, and Mr. Modi wants to make it to 5 trillion. So whether it is possible or not possible, we can look into that. And then we will decide whether we should trust the economy or we should not trust the economy. And How he has achieved this? He has implemented demonetization. Expert says demonetizations really retarded our growth in terms of economy, GDP growth. GST implementation retarded our growth. The dealing with NPAs and making this NPAs to the extent of 10 lakhs crore is again a huge jolt to our economy, and various other things. So I want to tell you that since Mr. Modi came in power 2014 onwards, there is no hike in direct tax rates. On the contrary, slabs of the direct taxes have been enhanced so that more and more taxpayers should be benefited. So he has not increased tax rates in direct taxes. As far as indirect taxes is concerned, we used to have 17, 18 major indirect taxes in this country, statewide, central, and nationwide. Those all taxes got subsumed. Around 150 local taxes got merged into one tax, and we brought this GST into place. And the average indirect tax rates till 2014 was in the range of 23 to 24%. Now that effective rate, average rate, has come down below 18%. So without increasing taxes, direct taxes or indirect taxes rates, by implementing demonetization, by dealing with banks and NPAs with iron hands, how we could have gone from 14 lakhs crore budget to 34 lakhs crore, how our GDP has gone up from 2 trillion to 3 trillion, are the issues to be thought of. We need to think how it was possible. And this implementation of GST also, when this FRBM committee was set up under Dr. Kelkar, Vijay Kelkar, and when GST was to be implemented, earlier government also tried hard, but GST could not be implemented. And of course, that blame goes to Mr. Narendra Modi, then CM of Gujarat, who opposed to implementation of GST. It may be right also, but his concern was concern of various chief ministers of states who wanted to know that if GST is implemented, what would happen in case there is a loss in the revenue for the state. And that issue could not be really resolved. And therefore, I thank late Honorable Arunji Jaitley, who could come out with the formula, who was chairman of the GST Council, that will assume that the growth of GST collection for the state is 14%, when in reality, it was not more than 9%. So for past 5 years, assurance was given to the states that 14% growth year on year would be considered and would be compensated. And therefore, all states and Union territories agreed to that proposal. And then GST came into picture. 2 days before only, we concluded a 4th anniversary of the GST. And some say GST is a great reform. Rather, it is the largest economic reform post-independence in India. Some says, no, it is very badly implemented. Lots of teething problems are still there. But friends, if you realize, if you look at it, for any implementation of such reform, assumption is that at least 1% is trying to betray or deceive the system. And to catch hold that person, all such laws are made, and for which honest people have to suffer it. You have to pay a price for that. But that price is in the larger interest of the nation, in terms of economy and in terms of the well-being of the fellow citizen. So this GST with various rules was implemented. Subsequently, it got relaxed. It is being relaxed further. But people say that after 4 years also, why GST is not implemented to right spirit? So why can't it reverse? I think now nobody can reverse the GST implementation, because the way it is well received by honest taxpayer, honest businessmen, who are rest assured that with GST implementation, life is now become easier, and they are prepared to sustain the pain also. Now, if you say that GST is not implemented correctly, Then I asked myself, who are the other nations who have implemented GST correctly? Now, countries like US, UK, they could not even think of implementing GST. They could not dare it. But India did that. To me, there are two comparable examples. One is Canada and one is Australia, who have implemented GST. And they have implemented GST way back in 1991 and 2001, respectively. But till today, they are coming out with various clarifications, amendments in that GST implementation. If we compare with that, our GST is at very mature state after 4 years. Like in VAT, till the implementation of GST, the circular and amendments for VAT was also issued. So it's an ongoing process. And at no point in time, one can claim that no, GST is implemented completely, because it is always keep on changing. Like this pandemic, nobody expected pandemic will put us into such a problem. So GST Council had to sit once again. They had to decide. They had to change the slabs. They had to give relief. They wanted to fuel the economy. There was Atmanirbhar package of 20,97,000. So it is an ongoing process, and the success of the GST would always lie in the dynamics and accepting and managing the dynamic situation of this economy. So it's an ongoing process. And after 4 years, if you can see that for last 8 months, even after COVID, GST collection is in excess of 1 lakh crore per month. Rather, in the month of April, it was 1,41,000 crore, then 1,26,000 crores. Of course, last month it was 93,000 crores. But I think collection of GST is on track. When we talk about 34 lakhs crore economy in terms of budget, where from contribution is going to come? 12 lakh crore is through GST, around 12 lakhs crores through direct taxes, around 6 lakhs crores through borrowings, around 1.7 lakhs crores through disinvestment phenomenon, and then monetization of assets and various other miscellaneous things. So GST is on track, direct taxes is on track. Then should we not trust our economy? Should we not trust this government? These are the issues. Blame is again made that no, you're not handling it properly. Then assuming that we had a better rulers in the form of Dr. Manmohan Singh, is a great economist, with due respect. He was Prime Minister, then Mr. Chidambaram was Finance Minister. We have witnessed what has happened in 2008. It was again a global economic turmoil. But all the norms of FRBM were exceeded. Our fiscal deficit was in the range of 6.5%. Inflation was in excess of 10%, double digit. Whereas from 2014 till pandemic, all the FRBM norms in terms of inflation, which was contained in the range of 3.5 to 4%, fiscal deficit, current account position, foreign reserves, import-export position, everything was well maintained. I fully agree pre-pandemic for 3-4 quarters economy in terms of GDP growth was at decline. So even if it is at decline, can we hold this central government alone responsible? We need to look at the global scenario also, because our import-export are contributing to the extent of 45% of our GDP. So we cannot live life in isolation. So our import exports, because they are to the extent of 45%, we were hit by recession worldwide, means decline in GDP. That time GDP, average GDP globally was 2.3%. So our economy was declining. And then unfortunately in the month of January 2020, this pandemic really engulfed India as well as whole world, and economy was to be disrupted. India was the only country who imposed lockdown. Whether it was right or wrong, it can be debated. Probably it was a wrong decision. Therefore, now same government is saying lockdown is not the only solution. But that time, because of the ethos of our country, culture of our country, life was more important than business. Therefore, we imposed lockdown. And because of that lockdown, our economy really crumbled. And in first quarter, it came down to minus 23%. So everybody was in shock condition that what will happen now. People were losing jobs, there were no salaries, there was no transport, everything was disrupted. It was a challenging situation. But because our economy is agri-based economy, agriculture sector has really helped us. That economy grew. That time, there were no PEP kits being manufactured, no oxygen cylinders, no concentrators, no remdesivir to that extent, no hospital, no beds, no infrastructure facilities. On the contrary, Honorable Supreme Court has mentioned that it is shame on the part of India that in last 70 years we did not do enough for our health infrastructure, and we paid price for that. So in pandemic, situation was bad, but very same government really ramped up the production. Rather, they started exporting PEP kits, concentrators, oxygen cylinders, many other things. And our first COVID was really managed good by the state governments and central government. But unfortunately, this COVID-2 came in the different form, this mutant, and really put entire country in trouble. And I must say that country could not really handle it for last 15-20 days, because this mutant needed huge amount of oxygenation, and the medical oxygen requirement, which used to be 900 metric ton, went up to 9,000 metric ton in the span of 1 month. And that was a real challenge. And it is not that 9,000 metric ton oxygen generating capacity was there in India. It is much more in the excess of that 9,000 metric ton. But the challenge was that oxygen requirement went up suddenly in Delhi, in Madhya Pradesh, in Maharashtra, and oxygenation generating plants were situated in Northeast. So transporting oxygen from that place to those places, that too through proper specified containers, was again a challenge. Therefore, this government used all methods, aerial method, naval method, railways, transport, roads, everything, and transported oxygen from one place to another. Though 15-20 days was a really bad thing, situation was very clueless, but suddenly government got control over that, and we are almost now keeping at the back this COVID-2. But again, situation is not fully out of, it is not fully safe. Now it is said that mutant 3 is also an offing. It may come in after 2 months, 3 months. But I think the only solution, in addition to keeping safe distancing, mask, and sanitization of hands, etc., vaccination as of now is supposed to be the key to everything. And therefore, in vaccination, I think our country is doing excellent job. Where we have vaccinated maximum number of people, more than 37 crores, which is highest in the world. So ramping up this with this pace is really salute to our health workers, because like polio kind of this mutant was came into existence in 1950 or so. India started dealing with that polio in 1965. Until yesteryears, we were dealing with COVID vaccine, this polio vaccination. Therefore, expecting COVID vaccination to be done in 1 month's time or 2 months' time is not that easy. Even countries like US and UK, they also took almost like 4 months, 5 months. And in terms of speed, India was fastest even than US. See, whatever vaccination they have achieved in 120 days, we achieved that in 110 days US. So within the limitation, within the resources non-availability, I think India is going with great speed. And I'm sure by 31st December of 2021, our entire population would have been vaccinated completely. So once vaccination is done, I think we will be very well controlling the COVID, though we will be living with COVID for another 2-3 years, but things will be better. Now, for me, in terms of economic and global scenario, the world would be changed and divided and split into two parts. It will be altogether different. Traditionally or trajectory-wise, what country has done what before COVID will be a different situation. Whole world, especially investors, are now watching that which country has got decisive leadership, which country has demonstrated their strength in terms of handling COVID, which country has undertaken reforms, which country is flexible enough to go for changes in their legislative system. And if you look at it, then China, which was a very strong economy, number 2 economy, probably would be at disadvantageous stage. And India, and especially in Asian market, India has got a great chance. I'm saying with this confidence because in COVID situation also, India has received 80 billion US dollar FDI, which is 5th largest worldwide. And therefore, when Modi ji wanted this economy to be 5 trillion economy, India was ranking 11th in terms of GDP, which came down to 5th. You all know that first is US, which is like 21 trillion US dollar economy, followed by China, which is 14, then Japan, then Germany, and then India. India, Italy, UK, France, they are like neck to neck, close to 3 trillion. But India would have advantage. And yes, our first quarter was minus 23%. It was a matter of great dissatisfaction. And in unprecedented way, we went into recession after 40 years. But I think we recovered also well. After COVID-1, our GDP growth was projected by all international agencies like International Monetary Fund, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, our own SBI, RBI. They all projected our economy to grow by 12 to 14%. And of course, because of COVID-2, they have revised their estimate, which will be like 8 to 9%. Friends, post-COVID, world's average economic growth is something like 6.3% expected this year, and next year 4%. So next year, our GDP growth means coming year, it will be like 8% plus, but following year, it will be like 12% growth. It means our economy is poised to take a larger leap, and it will be benefiting entire industry and every aspect of the life. Now, this Atmanirbhar package of 20 lakhs 97,000 crore, which was given by Government of India, was again a question that nobody is benefited, nobody has received money. What kind of this stimulus is? Now, friends, even US also granted stimulus of 10% of their GDP, which was like 2 trillion. Even we gave in first tranche 21 lakhs crore, almost, then 6 lakhs crore additionally. But if you look at any stimulus, money doesn't go into the pocket. Assuming that 20 lakh 97,000 crores was to be given straight in the pockets of the citizen of India, then every citizen of India would have received 13,000 rupees one time. Now tell me, if you would have received 13,000 one time, would that have helped economy to grow? See, financial stimulus, financial packages always like this. When all the stakeholders which are contributory to the economy has to be activated through this package. It may be regulator, it may be bankers, it may be industry, it may be businessman, it may be individual, it may be farmers, everyone. So they all have to give and contribute. Then only economy gets fueled. And therefore, I'm saying you, this 20 lakh 97,000 played a big role. And that is the reason this minus 23% growth has turned into plus 1% growth. Now, plus 1% growth from minus 23% growth is a huge jump. It is like 24 units we have enhanced our growth. And now this 1% is going to go to 8% and all that thing. And it is only because our economy is reviving with this plethora of benefits which is passed on by this government. I'll give one example. Now, this government is so innovative. This MSME was always talked about, but we never thought that they could be dealt with differently. A separate ministry of MSME was introduced by this government, and we saw the benefits. Out of 20 lakhs 97,000 crore, 3 lakh crore was earmarked for MSMEs to guaranteed credit line through banks. So without safety, security, and guarantee of the individual investor, loan could have been availed. So entire 3 lakhs crore has been availed by more than 1 crore 11 lakhs borrowers, that MSMEs. And that is the reason last week, again, Honorable Finance Minister came out with another package of 6.3 lakhs crore, out of which 1.5 lakhs crore is towards same thing on same lines, guaranteed credit line, out of which 50,000 crores is earmarked for this health infrastructure, and balance for promotion of tourism and all other activities. So I think this government knows the nerves, understand the requirement of the public, and they are working accordingly. Therefore, with these circumstances, I think our economy is poised to take a bigger leap, and therefore, professionals like us, chartered accountants, advocates, company secretaries, and ICWAs, they all can contribute in great way. Now we all as a professional have to think it differently. Don't think it traditionally. Scenarios change. Act like a doctor. This economy needs now different treatment, and that treatment can be given through us as a professional. Now, doctors should know what this economy is passing through, what is the investment opportunity, which is the right industry, what kind of solution should be given. We should not hesitate to tell our clients or employer that change your strategy in terms of dynamic situation and changing circumstances. If they do not do that, probably they will be left behind and others will be benefited. So we need to understand what are the policies. There are many policies, like RBI came out with the new policy wherein they have announced 500 billion Indian rupees special liquidity facility for mutual funds. If we can study that and tell our clients, tell our employer, they would certainly be benefited. Then finance minister announced establishment of AMC to fund unlisted companies to the extent of Indian rupees 1,000 crore, 1,000 billion. 1,000 billion. So that is also another good opportunity. Now you see that IPOs are again flourishing. People now this Phadnis sir explained us that investors are also in search of various different opportunities. So IPOs is one opportunity. They are straight now investing into companies, listed companies, or companies being listed IPOs, or through mutual funds and all that thing. Like FDI in insurance sector is also opening up. FDI in insurance has been enhanced from 49% to 74%. As I told you, FDI in pandemic situation has already crossed 80 billion US dollars. So there are various new schemes coming. I don't know whether Mr. Phadnis has covered that because I joined in between. But every young generation is now going after crypto. Cryptocurrency is another market. Probably India is also going to regularize that. Debate is going on whether RBI is the right entity to regulate it or SEBI is right entity. So that is another market. You all must have heard SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company concept. In US, now companies are getting listed without having a project in hand. Altogether different concept. It is like checkbook company. It means a company would be requested, you can say like a Coca company. It is getting listed. People are investing money in that, having mopped up funds. Then those promoters would go and identify the right project to invest money in worldwide. And they are supposed to do that within 2 years. And if they fail to do that in 2 years, they are supposed to refund that money along with interest. Very innovative concept. Same concept is going to come into India also. So where do we prepare for that? We can tell our these companies or clients or what employers that this is the concept. You can get aligned to that. We need to think of what internationally and which sector is doing well. Like post-COVID or during COVID, this medical as well as insurance sector, then IT sector, agriculture sector flourish, hospital industry is flourishing. Now work from home is another concept coming in. So there could be innovative ideas being implemented. So we have to be prepared as a professional to catch hold of the responsibility. Now MSME itself is a huge opportunity. MSMEs are contributing to the extent of 30% plus to our GDP. They are providing the employment of 13 crores. They are contributing to our import export to the extent of 60%, sorry, 40%. Mr. Gadkari wanted to increase it to 60%. So that itself is a big opportunity. And rather than earmarking work for within our institutes, I think now government has allowed partnership amongst these professionals also. Now no professional can claim to be most expert for particular activity. Situation is so dynamic that I will give my example. In the year 2003, I rather probably in India started a concept called one shop solution, wherein I got chartered accountants, company secretaries, advocates, engineers, all working together. And then I realized that all such brains, when they come together for any one particular aspect, we can be best of the best advisors in terms of advice to our clients. It can be, with due respect, it can be better than even Mr. Harish Salve, because 3-4 professionals are coming together and advising on that. You can go on Google. There is a reported judgment, and Suchita Dalal wrote one article on that aspect. I was appearing against SEBI in SAT, and my client said, I don't mind paying you any fees in crores, but I want relief. You go for best of the best advocates. So my company secretary partner, my chartered accountant partner, we thought through, and such amazing argumentation solution came out. My partner said, Vishwas bhai, ek kaam karo, let's not go and appoint any big lawyer from Delhi, because at times they lose their temper and we lose case also. I think we understood. Now, anyways, you have a certificate of practice as an advocate, so why don't you appear, and we'll be standing beside you. You will not believe that thing click. I got the order, I got good fees also, and that became a reported judgment. I think now all this time has come for all these professionals to come together, be competitive, give solutions to our clients which is ahead of time, rather than be advisor for corrective actions. If we can give preventive solutions, if we can stay ahead of time, I think there is a huge responsibility for the opportunity for the professionals, and we can take maximum out of that. I think, Abhijit, it is one-sided talk, and neither you can see me nor I can't see you. Rather than I talking, I would be happy if somebody has got any question to ask me. I would try to debate. Rather, I have now lost that practice of delivering lecture. I'm always on TV, so I'm used to defending and counter arguing. So it will be interesting if somebody can ask me. I would try to respond it to.
Okay, thank you, Vishwas sir, for all your deliberation on the present scenario as well as our Indian economy. There are again a few questions with me. I will ask them one after another. The first question is, how do you see role of the professionals in building India?
See, let us be very honest. I'm also professional. So let us not think that we are the only pillar to contribute to this nation. Contributors to the nation are all businessmen, whether they are MSMEs, whether they are hawkers, whether they are entrepreneurs, they are core activity manufacturers, and all that thing. So we need to first respect them, that they are the ones who put everything on stake for the business. They give personal guarantees. They put their entire money. They borrow funds and go to the business. And then our role starts. So if you understand and accept this fact, then 1 plus 1 can become 11. But normally, I experience that we fail to understand our role most of the times, because businessman is in a different level in terms of understanding and speed and in competition. So if you can give him comfort that I am here to work as an extended team for you, I am here to help you, rather than advising him or telling him under this rule you cannot do that, under this law you cannot do this way, or there will be audit query, you will be in trouble. If at very first instance, if you start telling him, then our role is diminished. If you promote his activities, support him, and apply the brakes when it is actually required, rather than showing that, see how intelligent we are to tell you and how useless or how foolish you are, then our role will go down day by day.
Fine. Thank you so much. There is another question which seems to be very interesting. What challenges do you see which are not addressed yet by the government, or which are must be addressed in coming days by the government?
See, I would not claim that government has addressed all the issues, but government is in the process of addressing all the issues. See, there are some identified problems, and there are certain unidentified problems. Like in identified problems, like economic reforms, which were overdue, they are all dealt with. Then labor reforms, social reforms, security reforms, with Article 370, 35A, CAA, various things. So they are all dealt with and resolved. But there are some newer challenges, newer ideas through our professionals or through businessmen. Government is immediately, very openly accepting those facts. Like I told you, this MSME ministry was brought in by this government. Now, day before yesterday, Sahakar ministry is brought in by this government. Understanding that Sahakar is contributing huge to the economy, but that needs a very organized and regulated structure. So that is brought in. So whenever some new areas are identified, government is immediately latching on and going ahead. Like my government website, people say that immediately it is picked up, acted upon also. So there is a very transparent and open system of accepting the newer ideas, innovative ideas, which are getting implemented.
Yes. Thank you so much, Vishwasji. I don't see any other question. Anybody wish to ask anything can send his question or yes, Sushruth, you have something to say?
No, I think it was a interesting session, and I think many a times on a lighter mood, economy is like cricket. Very few people know what to do, but everyone has a view. So I think that way it is always wonderful to have somebody learned to actually talk to us, to speak about the nuances, because what happens is everyone always, I mean, it's like the story of that elephant, that everyone is looking at the elephant only from whatever perspective one has and tries to speak about the elephant. So I think the economy is always like that. So it is always great to have somebody who's got a studied, nuanced approach to the whole matter, so that we can get an oversight as an overview about the whole situation. So I think it was wonderful, and that's all. Thank you.
So, Shruth, I just want to take it further in the cricket way. See, to win match, do we need Tendulkar or do we need Acharikar? Ramakant Acharikar, no? Yeah. So that is more important. Therefore, we should not claim that we are the greatest of the greatest economies, therefore we can run this country. There are Tendulkar, there are Sehwag, there are Virat Kohli who can actually win the matches.
So thank you so much again, Sushruth, for your insight. And now we have CA Murtuza Kazwala, Regional Council member of WRC, to propose formal vote of thanks. May I request Murtuza bhai to kindly do the honors. Over to you, Murtuza.
Thank you, Abhijit. And thanks to both Abhijit and Sushruth for spending time today. And I think excellent session on this Friday evening. Let me take this opportunity to thank Vishwas sir. Sir, really, like, at least if I talk about myself, being an accountant and an auditor, economics also is like a very different type of subject. I don't understand that so easily. But then, like, you spend so much time and explain to us in such a lucid manner, and that shows the depth of your knowledge about the country, about the economics, and again, like, what is the current situation and what impact it has. So, sir, really enjoyed the whole session, and thank you very much for joining us today. And on behalf of WRC, sir, I thank you for accepting our invitation and being here today. And I request all the participants to carry with a loud round of applause. Thank you.
One sec, Mr. Murtuza, and I want to compliment CA Institute. I always rate CA Institute to be number one. I have to be very honest. And even I wanted to become CA, but I could not become CA because I took a job at the age of 18 years. Today I experience, see, I delivered lecture at Institute of Company Secretaries, Institute of ICWA, and Institute of CA also today. In today's discussion, though you could not see me, but I was seeing most of you. In other institute, I was probably seen by them, but I could not see them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So thanks again to both the learned speakers for sparing their time. Thank you to all the respected regional council members for all their coordination, and thank you to all the participants for attending this fundamentals on Friday. And we'll be having two more speakers, two more topics next month on any Friday that will be announced soon. So stay tuned, I would say, and let's learn from the masters. So thank you everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhijit.